What a massive week in Bitcoin and crypto, folks. What a massive week. Is this the end? Is this finished? Is the bull market all over? Let's have a big look at the entire crypto market. What's happening to Bitcoin? What's happening to Ethereum? First of all, what's causing all this? No one has given you guys a good answer. I've pretty much said for quite a few months now that the US economy is in trouble. And what I believe the crash was essentially front running this thing. Look at that. You might not think this is important, but yeah, that's why cryptos are crashing. This is the GDP. This is the Federal Reserve itself, one of the branches from Atlanta, measuring the GDP as we speak. They're not waiting till like March to give you that number. They're giving it to you in real time. It's just dropped off a cliff face from like 2.3% to minus 1.5%. Minus 1.5%. That's, I don't know what you call recession, because it's basically just going, well, the economy is growing at 2.3% a year, which isn't great, but at least it's growing. And then it goes from that, as soon as new president comes in, goes to minus 1.5%. Well, as I said in my last video, whether you like Trump or you like Biden, I don't care. I'm not a supporter of either of them. But what has happened is, basically, Trump is literally cutting jobs, right? We can't argue with that. He's literally cutting jobs. With Elon Musk doing Doge, when you cut jobs, the economy has less jobs. Whatever the government cuts, they're saying his wish list is cut to up to 1 million jobs. And yeah, that's great for the long run. For the longer run, that's great for America, for any government probably, to be more efficient, to cut the fat. But in the short run, how are you going to make up for that 1 million jobs? Let's say even if you can, the private sector of US can make up for 1 million jobs. Then what happens is you have zero job growth. You literally cut 1 million and you add 1 million. So that's zero job growth. Remember how that job number with NFP jobs added, non-farm payrolls, that we look at every single month, right? It adds something like 200,000, 300,000 jobs, even in a weak economy, we're going to zero, even if you add 1 million jobs in the private sector. So that's something I've been warning about. And this is what's causing the stock market to tank. And when the stock market tanks, then we see Bitcoin, right? Front running it, because as I explained in my last video, they see Bitcoin as sort of a high leverage or high beta tech stock. It's basically front running the Magnificent Seven, the Teslas, the Nvidia stocks dropping. And those Magnificent Seven stocks, the stock market is front running the US GDP nosediving. But is it all over? Is this the end? Can Bitcoin go down, right? I think it's down like 28, 30% right now and come back. Most importantly, can alt seasons come back? Ethereum is down something like 50% now. Can Ethereum be down 50% and still come back? Right? We're going to have a look at that. But before we do, let's just answer the question of which crypto exchange does Pablo He-Man use? Well, Pablo uses a crypto exchange that's non-KYC. That means it doesn't require your ID. That means, yes, Americans can use it because they can't even see who you are. You don't need to hand in your ID. The IRS can't see you. The tax office can't see you. FBI, CIA, nobody can see that it is you. And because I like it so much, Pablo has made a deal with them, right? Pablo He-Man and Bitunix are pushing out this deal, which is win the Tesla Model 3, Rolex, or Vision Pro just by trading. Limited time only. If you're watching this on YouTube, then it's the description. The link is in the description below you. But if you're watching on, say, other big platforms, then basically just go to my profile page, right? Go to my profile page, and right here, next to my head, there's this stand link. We click on that, and basically it's the first thing that pops up. Okay, but to keep in mind, just only on this link, only on the Pablo He-Man link. Okay, let's go back to where the markets are. First of all, this is I had folks ask me in my Discord today, is it over? Is it going to be a bounce from 73K? I'm not shy from making big calls. So if I thought Bitcoin was going to 20K, I would say it's going to 20K. It's the bull market is over. I've said in my on every social media platform, on every on all my crypto the Discord messages, that I said the target is around 73K, and if we get there, we are still in an uptrend. We are still in a bull trend. Why is that? It's really simple. You basically have a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low at 73K or 72K bounce, and then you can still make a higher high, right? That's literally the definition of a bull market. And look at this. This supporting trend line is not broken. Higher high, higher low. Now, in terms of pullbacks, we went from 109K, let's say, down to 73K, 72K, 73K. That's what? A 36K drop. 36K drop, percentage-wise, that would be like a 32% drop. Is that a big deal? I'm pretty sure, like, most people in crypto can already tell you, like, even that is, what is that? From 73K down to 49K, right? That's like a 24K drop. But percentage-wise, that's probably like a 30-something% drop as well. Like, Bitcoin is full of these 30% drops, and it comes back. Like, look at this. This is last bull run. This was the top at 64K, right? And then the drop was down to 28K. That's easily over 50%. Over 50%, and it comes back. So I will say, however, what I would be careful of is this is a double top, right? Double top. 64K, 69K. This is what happened last bull run. What I would be careful of is I don't think cycles repeat what happened last cycle. Like, if this is what happened last bull run, then I don't think this will repeat this bull run, right? I don't think it will repeat this bull run. So I don't think it'll be a double top like this. But then you're saying, okay, well, if it's not going to be a double top, then what could happen, Pablo? Then, that's just spitball. What are the scenarios? One, we could have a right shoulder. You could have a massive left shoulder, head, right shoulder, so a bounce to something like at tag, say 92K, or even tag here, 9900K, pull everyone back in, right? And then go down. That's one possibility. Or what could happen is it could be like the 2013 bull run. Let me just pull your attention to the 2013 bull run. Okay, this is 2013. This is one bull run, right? That started in something like October 2011, ended November 2013. Okay, we had this pullback. It looks pretty small to you, doesn't it? It looks pretty small. That's because I'm using a logarithmic chart. Let's say if I use a regular chart, that's what this pullback looks like. So in the middle, this was April 1st. Then it went to the high here. In this red bar here, the high was $259 for Bitcoin, 260, right? What was the low? The low was $45. That's moved to the week after. What's the low here? The low here was $50. So from 260 down to $50. That's like what? That's like a that's like an 80% crash. 80% crash in the middle of a bull market. And even down here, the low here was 63. That's still like a 70% plus 75% crash from the high here. Crashes 70%, crashes 80%, and then goes on to make another high. So we cannot rule out Bitcoin, right? That's something like this, 30%, 30. This was a 70, 80% crash, and then it goes up, right? And then continues the bull market. Runs for how long? This is from April top to the final top in November, right? Then let's have a look at 2017 bull run. This was December again, ended on a high. Let's just randomly pick a pullback. Let's have a look at this one. This looks pretty small, but this is logarithmic chart. So this is 2,967, almost $3,000, and what's the pullback? Low is 1830. So that's like a 40% pullback. That's 35-40% pullback. So there is another one, and you don't even notice that because it's a logarithmic chart. This is 37% pullback, and then you still had a big run, right? So this is the 2021 bull run, double top. This is the first time we had a double top, right? I just showed you guys this is more than 50% pullback, and it runs and tops in November again, right? So in theory, what could happen is we could have a move down here. That would only be a 32% pullback, and you could still have a big run here. And when it runs, it may not even top out at 109K. It could actually go like something like this. A repeat of 2013 bull run will be something like this, right? I just randomly put my cursor here, right? For example, 130, 140. That could easily happen, right? And this is, I would be surprised if it ended in November and December, just like every other time. I would think it would end earlier. Well, I would, certainly think much more seriously about front running folks if we got to that stage, because it so far the bull market ended in about November, December every time, right? So right now, I mean, if we show this chart to anybody who's a chartist, and if we just covered up, Bitcoin and covered up the price scale and just says, do you think that's a bull market? Do you think that's a bull market? I think everyone, even any guy on the street would say, yeah, that's a bull market, right? Until we have a right shoulder, a bounce, right shoulder, gets rejection, and then breaks this level of support around the 70s, breaks this red trend line, we don't have any right to call it a bear market yet. And then you're just purely guessing that this is the top, and we're going to go into lower low, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs. There's not much evidence of that yet, except I keep on warning you guys about the fact that U.S. stocks could be in a lot of trouble. Why? Because GDP now. You might think that's boring, but GDP is tanking because of all the reasons we've been talking about, because Trump cutting jobs, cutting government spending. That's a good thing. That's a good thing, right? But in the short term, we can all agree that's literally going to be cutting some jobs, right? Now, the other thing I just want to quickly show you guys is Nvidia. As people are asking me, how's the Nvidia earnings going to do? Because when this stock tanks, the US stock market is basically broken. It basically ends the bull run for the US stocks, and that means Bitcoin tanks. For Nvidia, for example, let me put it on a daily scale. It reported better than expected earnings, better than expected revenue, better than expected margin. It was a great earnings call, right? And yet it went down 8% the next day. Like it reported after the bell on this day, and the next day it went down 8%, right? So this was something that I had drawn in on December, like mid to late December. As DeepSeek was coming out, I said DeepSeek is basically going to kill this bull market, right? And this is the pattern I've drawn. So that's something to watch out for. If you have a reason to say that the bull market is over, then the two reasons I could think of is one that the NASDAQ bull run is over because U.S. jobs, U.S. economy is going down now. Or reason number two is because the NASDAQ is led by this Nvidia stock, and Nvidia is topping now because DeepSeek has essentially ended the whole GPU hyperscale business model of Nvidia, and so the whole AI narrative on Wall Street is kind of ending right now. That would be valid excuses. If you say the market has topped, I could accept that. Just remember that's always possible. We're looking at probabilities here. We're looking at probabilities. Okay, I'll give you one more thing to think about, to chew over. This is the greed and fear index. Right now we're ticking around 17 or 18, right? Extreme fear. This is for the stock market, right? This is for the stock market. For crypto, it's also in the extreme fear area. But let's look at it in terms of timeline. This would have been a year ago, I think. Yeah, a year ago, March the 1st. And since a year ago, we've basically had this is the pretty much the worst or the second worst. No, I would say that's the worst. We got to 16 yesterday. What was this? 17. So it's pretty much the worst in a year. And it's worse than August the 5th. Did you see that? That's August the 5th. What happened on August the 5th? August the 5th was when Bitcoin crashed to 49K. When Bitcoin crashed to 49K, and it was due to the Japanese yen reverse carry trade blowing up. So the Japanese yen carry trade blowing up. Let me just quickly show you guys. It was basically this candle here. This here was August the 5th. Right? This was August the 5th. And this was July 20. Well, yeah. So basically we had 2 weeks of crash and boom, we ended up here. So at the time, I said this was shoulder, head, shoulder. And that actually turned out to be the exact bottom when fear was that much. The sentiment was that bad, when people were that scared. I actually told everyone this was shoulder, head, shoulder. You might remember, I kept on saying 94K. I made it like about 3 tweets, 2 videos, and I kept on saying about 50 times in my Discord throughout this entire period for about 3 months. I said 94K, 94K, 94K. We got to 94K. And then I said, and then everyone shared it when it got above 100K. I said it would take weeks, if not months, to confirm above 100K. And we just kept on flirting with 100K, 100K, and boom, we got rejected. Why did I say it would take weeks or a month to confirm above 100K? Let's have a look at the longer term chart. Once again, some of you guys have seen this before, but just bear with me. Let's turn it onto a monthly chart. This is what I showed everyone. On the monthly chart, basically, if we string up the 2017 bull run high, 2021 bull run high, and the 2025, 24 bull run high right now, it shows this trend line, which is the high at around 108, 109K. And I told folks just to watch out because we're going to have a big rejection here, right? You have a big pullback, but it doesn't mean the bull market is over. Big pullback, right? And and basically this is a monthly chart. Look at this, the massive topping tail. Warn about that as well. And so I kept on saying this line, this neckline should not be broken. If it is broken, we're going to 73K. This line of 91.7, 91.8, that's the neckline of shoulder, head, shoulder, right? Here. Should not be broken. If it is broken, then we're going to 70. Well, to be conservative, okay, basically, I was saying, look, this is shoulder, double head, shoulder, and this neckline should not be broken, should not be broken. If it is broken, it would go down to something like 75 to 80K. We've already hit that because we just went to 78K. To be more precise, there's a chance we could actually just go to 73K and then bounce. But it's not that much of a difference now because we already went to 78K. 78, 75, 73, it's only like 3, 4, 5K difference now. So, so basically, it's fear is very high right now in the stock market, in crypto. This could be easily the bottom, right, of another massive bounce up to at least tag 100K. And if 2013 cycle plays out again, it could actually make a new high. Okay, let's have a quick look at Ethereum. So in conclusion, it's not bearish on Bitcoin yet because, I mean, the trend line wasn't broken. The rising trend line wasn't broken. It's a 30% pullback. Technically, from a technical point of view, there's not enough to call it a top just yet. Okay, now Ethereum is a lot more bearish looking, or not as strong, or weaker looking, I should say, because it did actually break this trend line. See this rising trend line that supported Ethereum during the whole bull run? It did break it, right? It did break. So, but you could still argue that that this was, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, equal high, kind of an equal low. So it's stuck in a sideways range, and then could break out. So I'd say let's assume the worst. Let's assume a bear market has started for Ethereum, and this was the top. Yeah, something like that. This was the top. What? This was the top, double top, whatever. If that's the case, then support at 2135, another support at 2000, and we should at least get a bounce to something like 2750 or even like 2900, something like that. Breakdown, bounce back to retest, retest the rising, right? The rising support line, retest, and then go down, something like that, right? If Bitcoin does a right shoulder, then ETH would do a retest around high 2000s, something like 2900, 2800, and then break down. So even that's the case, I don't think it goes down in a straight line. In the worst case scenario, we'll probably still get a big bounce and then go down. That's if the bull market is over. But I just showed you guys, what if Bitcoin continues to run up and do a big run, right? What if Bitcoin does another big run? Like we can't. Nothing on the Bitcoin chart technically tells us that it is over yet. Anyways, let's have a look at Ethereum. Just even this during this pullback. So this high, right, we had 12 months ago was 4,4095. So almost 4,100. Almost 4,100. And what was low? The low here was 2112. So that was 50% drop, right? Almost 50% drop. Almost 50% drop. Like a 49, 48% drop. Here, once again, the high was 4108. The low so far is 2074. So that's also almost 50% drop. That's like a 49% drop as well. So, and remember, Ethereum bounced up to here. Let's have a look at Ethereum history. For example, this is when Bitcoin was at 64K and then dropped to 28K. Look at this drop. So during the last bull run, high was 4380. 4380. Almost 4400. The low was 1700. The low here is 1700, right? Halfway point would be around 2190. 2190. So 2190 around here. That's 50%. That's 50%. And it basically went like down 65%. Yeah, when something like down 65% Ethereum, and then it came back and made a new high, right? And that was actually a really big altcoin bull run. However, there's one big difference. And that is Ethereum never broke its supporting trend line. This time it has. It has broken its supporting trend line. So I would just be careful of that. So then we say, well, in the worst case scenario, bull run's over, but it would probably still have a big bounce and retest here. Or if Bitcoin runs to 130K, 140K, which could easily happen, you could still have some sort of run like this, right? Some sort of run like this. It's difficult for me to imagine that Ethereum goes kind of down, down, down like this, whilst Bitcoin goes up, 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 up to 130, 140K. Let's have a look at Ethereum history. Okay, this is the 2017 bull run. 2017 bull run here. And in the middle, this is Ethereum. Let's see this pullback. This is a logarithmic chart. So I'm going to put it on regular so you can see what kind of a pullback that is. Okay. The high was 414, right? 414. The low was 135. So that's way larger than 50%. That's something like a 65% pullback. 65% pullback, and then still made its way and continued for another, put it on logarithmic, right? Continued to make another high, and then another high. Well, let's have a look at this one. Let's have a look at this one as well. Here, the trend line, right? The trend line was broken as well. Let's have a look at this pullback. This pullback here. Put it on regular. I'll put it on regular. So this bull run, the high, okay, that was the one we just saw. Let's do the earlier one. We can't even see it on the chart. Let's have a look at this pullback. Okay. The high was 21.5. The low was 6.2. That's like, again, that's like a 65% pullback, almost 70% pullback, right? So in other words, if we look back in Ethereum history, it also had a 70, I just showed you guys, had like a 65-70% pullback, broke the supporting trend line, broke the rising supporting trend line, and then went up, and then had another 65% pullback, and then went up, and finally topped something like January 2018, right? So you could argue, oh, that was the old Ethereum, whatever. But just remember this, Ethereum right now is 400 billion. Well, it was 400 billion here, and it's like more like 200 billion in market cap here. This is much smaller than where Bitcoin was last cycle. Last cycle, Bitcoin, when it was here, when Bitcoin was doing this run here from 64K down to 28K, that was like 55%. That would have been, yeah, like a 55%, even 60% drop. It's smaller than Bitcoin was, much smaller than where Bitcoin was. Bitcoin was already like closing on being $1 trillion asset when this drop happened. When this drop happened, Bitcoin was like 2 or 3x larger than Ethereum. So in crypto, even this is something that was much larger. This is a crypto asset, cryptocurrency that was 2 or 3x larger than where Ethereum is now, and it made like a 50 to 55% drop, and then came back and made a new higher high. Of course, the key difference being it did not break down from its well, depends on how you want to draw this trend line. You could you could probably say it didn't break the rising supporting trend line. But if we have to be strict, let's just say use this one and this support. You could also say, oh yeah, Bitcoin broke the support. Look at this. That's the bottom. That's the support. Support, bounce, broke that support, and then kept on retesting that supporting trend line, retesting that supporting trend line, went to 69K. You could actually say that even. So basically, yeah,